All right, Mac Jones yesterday, just incredible. And Greg, if you had to look at this, do you say, oh, scheme once again lets him down, or is this Mac Jones just choking?
Okay, so my immediate reaction after the game was this was Mac at his worst. And I have since watched the film, and I'm amending that to say he wasn't good in this game. He wasn't. I mean, the Jonnu Smith, he missed him there for the touchdown. He missed Jacoby Myers in the seam when he was wide open right there. And he also had some penalty issues. It was his fault, was the false start on the goal line. Yep. It was his fault, the delay of game that they ended up having.
Where's the amendment? Doesn't sound like you amended much.
But after watching the film, he was not good, but this offense is a complete mess at this point in time. I can't tell you how many bad routes. There were 3 drops in this game, bad routes by players, terrible spacing, questionable play calls. Mac is not doing well in this. Nobody really is in this offense, but I don't think he's ultimately to blame.
Felger, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think the offense is more of a problem than Mac Jones. I think the coaching is more of a problem than Mac Jones. I think they've broken the kid. I think they didn't just set him back. You're going to have to get into the offseason and kind of start over. I mean, that's how far you have to go with him. But I still stick with him. I still think he can be a very good quarterback and win you a lot of games. So I'm not giving up on the guy. But I think by this point we can just, stop with the nonsense, which we should have stopped with before, that somehow Mac Jones could overcome bad coaching. I heard this. Mac Jones is a supercomputer for a brain, and he's so smart, and his intangibles are so great that you can give him an inexperienced coordinator and he'll get through it. Or this garbage that, hey, as long as Bill Belichick's here, it doesn't matter who the assistants are because Bill Belichick can coach up the offense and Bill Belichick can do it all. No. Mac Jones needs good coaching, and Bill Belichick, at this stage of his career anyway, doesn't have what it takes to build an offense. Those things we know.
Okay, now listen, Mike, you know this. You know how much I ride for Mac. Since last year, and tongue firmly planted in cheek at times, pointing out that he was a Pro Bowler, but much better than Cam Newton, all that stuff. So I'm a Mac fan, but I'm kind of sick of the whining. This is like, and you guys are dads, so you know what it means. You know what I'm talking about. When your kids were really young, or maybe even now, and they need a nap, and they just get up and they're just bitchy, and they're just whining. And you're just like, shut up. Okay, go back to sleep. You need a restart. Yesterday, from the start of the game, the guy was just yapping and waving his arms and flailing. Listen, I understand the offense is not great. I'll say that. Offense is not great. I don't like looking at them. They're unimaginative. They're boring. But you got to do your job. 13 of 31. Sorry, Greg. Spacing, whatever, wrong route. 13 of 31. A lot of throws there to be made. He didn't make the throws. Stop whining. Stop complaining. Do a better job of quarterbacking. And not just Mac. The other thing, I don't want to hear from Kendrick Bourne anymore either. Stop talking about scheming it up. The ball hits you in the hands, you drop it, and then you run off the field. Nelson Agholor, don't throw the ball to Nelson Agholor. He doesn't fight for it. He can't catch. So I think a lot of guys on this offense, I understand what they're up against, but they just they gotta stop. I think they're better at whining than they are than doing the simple things that can make their lives easier.
Look, Michael, I think that's valid, and I certainly think that's valid when you talk about Mac Jones and his antics, especially on the goal line last night. What he did there in terms of, waving off Ramondre Stevenson. Then they called timeout before they threw a touchdown pass, and he's throwing a nutty about that. He goes over to the sideline. He's telling the coaches to speed up, and they're trying to get points across. I understand. Look, I firmly believe, I do agree with you. I think Mac Jones needs a timeout. He needs to go to timeout.
Put him in the corner.
Enough. I thought he cost the team points just because of his demeanor, and that doesn't cut it as a quarterback. That being said, I understand what you're saying about the players, but I'm telling you, these players know they are not being coached well. There is no attention to detail. They swapped out all the coaches. These guys, they're all sick of it. I don't know what they did in Arizona. It didn't look like they practiced at all in terms of their offense. A couple of the throws, the early throws, the out routes to Mac Jones, those weren't bad throws. Those are god-awful passing routes that those guys ran where they're fading instead of going to the sideline. That stuff goes on all the time. There is no attention to detail. This offense is broken, and they just need to cobble it together for the last 3 games. It's atrocious at this point.
All right. Well,
yeah. And so, quickly, I just think Mike's underselling it. It's not that it's bad or unimaginative. It's dysfunctional. It's broken. There's a difference. You can say last year their point total was overrated, or they had trouble against good teams. That's all fair. For the most part, they were able to snap the ball. They were able to get the plays in on time. Mac Jones didn't lose his mind looking at the sidelines every second time he came to the sidelines. Right now, that's different than being bad or overrated or unimaginative. It's dysfunctional. And Greg's right. That sequence in the second quarter down at the goal-to-goal situation, that to me represented that game. That was more meaningful to me than the Chandler Jones stuff.